Today, we are going to be looking at a very solemn topic. I say solemn because I know it touches the heart and the soul of every Nigerian and friends of Nigeria, home and abroad. A few days towards a particular weekend, news filtered in that the evil ones struck again. Of course, they have always been there to strike Nigerians in their primes dead. But this particular one was iconic in the sense that the daughter to a prominent Nigerian father was gunned down by yet to be identified, I'll call them assassins. I'm talking about Mrs. Funke Olakore, the beloved daughter to Pa Ruben Fashoranti. It got the whole of the country in deep mourning. How do you begin to console a 94-year-old to hear from the airwaves that a beloved daughter on her way back to Lagos was gruesomely gunned down the way it was done, against the background of herdsmen or no herdsmen, bandits or no bandits, in the neck of woods that we call Benin Ore? Is this not one death too many? When will this spate of sorrow and anguish stop in our country? I have gentlemen here who will be ready to give their perspective on this dastard action.
Well, Aki, we are all surprised and not totally surprised. There's a saying that when something looks like a duck, quack like a duck, it will definitely be a duck. The criminal activities that have been happening around the country today is something very worrisome. It's quite unfortunate that this lady was gruesomely killed in such a manner. But this has been a daily occurrence. We are bringing this to the limelight because of the profile of the person and the father. But we should not forget that our environment is infested with killer squad from nowhere. Some people said they came from Libya, at least from quoting our president. Some people said they are Fulani henchmen. Whatever name you might give it to, we need to wake up. Nigerians need to wake up and call a spade by its name. Because, Aki, I gotta tell you, I'm very, very taken. I'm very afraid of applying any rules. It used to be before, when you're going on that road, you are worried about criminals, armed criminals. But today, the story have changed. We are now worried about those who have made the highway a kidnapping den for themselves. And yet, our security men don't seem to know what have befallen on us. So it's very, very
I agree
worrisome.
with you. It's gruesome. A 58-year-old lady in her prime just gunned down that way. Dotun, your perspective?
Well, I mean, for me, my deepest condolence to the family. the first speaker rightly said, what is important to note is that this has been a recurring incident. A den for robbers, banditries, and all sorts of criminals. And this is not just happening, it's been happening. It's a story that we've been hearing forever. I think our highways need to be more policed. There was a time when we used to have, in fact, even in recent time, we have about police along those routes. And so it's terrifying. It used to be Ibadan, Akure Road that became very terrible in recent time. However, maybe it has shifted to Benin. And of course, a lot of people believe that it's not just Benin Ore Road. It's not just Akure Ibadan Road. That it's actually everywhere. Jos, Kaduna to Abuja, Abaji, Abuja Road. So all these roads have become very, very terrible, and I think it is important. This death might be a wake-up call, a clarion call for the government to. Investigation needs to be carried. We don't know the investigation is still sketchy at this time, so we cannot specifically point and say it's the headsmen or whoever. So
indeed,
we
we
need
cannot.
to do more
Indeed,
thorough
we cannot but wait for this investigation to help us nip this in the bud. But Oscar, is there something we can look at from the causative factor? Sociologists and psychologists talk about, because this is happening, it must be because of that and all that within our body politic that we can use to explain this most unfortunate incident.
I'll give a quick answer, but before then, let me say my heart goes to Pa Fasonroti. No man in this world or woman prays to be alive to bury their own child. Nobody. And my joy, I call it joy, and in inverted commas, my joy is that it has happened to somebody that will make us talk about it. I am praying that we don't stop talking about it. Many years ago, it was recommended to the federal government of Nigeria, who insists on having federal roads, because I don't know why they still do, but they insist on having federal roads, that at least up to half a kilometer beside the roads must be completely cleared. In which case, as you're driving, you can see if there are movements there, and if those people who are moving, they intend to do something bad. I'm not even talking about night, I'm talking daylight. The federal government has ensured that they do not do that. It falls under Federal Ministry of Works or the Federal Ministry or whatever it is. They have not do that. On our roads in Nigeria, you are bound to see the following things. Before this new one, you will find policemen. They have just one job: park, collect something, continue. Then you will find bad roads that needs to be patched, and that will take a toll on your shock absorbers. It's like you ask yourself, do we have government purely to make other people uncomfortable? Do we have government that we revere? Everybody, once you're in government, number one is that you show your drunkenness with power. And then the rest of us will continue to bow to you, but back here, whereas your responsibilities are never looked at. And people will go around till tomorrow. A man walks into a function, and we all stand up to greet him. He's an ex-minister. Nobody will say, when you were there, what did you do? So I'm hoping and I'm praying, because I've heard the word one death too many. I pray to God that Nigerians could hold on to this and continue to discuss what happens on our roads, safety, the goodness of the road, and all of that. How do we do this to ensure that it does not happen again?
Thanks, Oscar. We are in an era of security challenge, and we should not just downplay that. It's true, the roads are bad. It's true, the Policemen are on the road collecting bribes. But most importantly, is this armed banditry that we are already in the know that is happening. These kidnappers that came from hell, that are terrorizing our roads, and yet, see, we are all students of history. We need to look back and know that Boko Haram, when they started, what they needed, they wanted to annex villages, hosting their flags here and there. Till somebody, the military, find out and say, this is not good. So the same thing is also happening. And, you know, we try to make excuse for this government, but this government have told you in many ways who they are. They told you because our president, and I continue to hammer on that, to have told us that the people fomenting the problem came from Libya, means that he has access to information that I don't have. And we can't just sweep that with left hand, because you know why? This is just everyday occurrence, whether we want to admit it or not. So I don't want us to be running around trying to look for solution and all that. The point here is, Aki, our security men are not doing enough.
Well,
I also want to add this.
okay.
I want to add this. See, the Brutai, don't forget the statement he made. Brutai said that his men are being compromised, that they don't have the excitement any longer.
Ike.
So we need to tackle on that. That is the major issue.
There will be so many layers of the problem that has always been, that it still is, and in spite of the best of governments will continue. And I am not going to discount what Oscar mentioned. A few low-hanging fruits, you know, you call them first aid. Some of the things that you expect. I agree with you that the security challenges that we are having is now moving from bad to worse, and communication from all arms of government, especially at the top, has been less than optimal. We are going to go for a break now, and when we come back, we'll be looking at specific solutions. But let's go hear what our compatriots out there in the streets are saying concerning this subject. We will be back.
When the government is saying that way, it will be reduced. We don't want people that are just striving to get there.
The government has a duty to secure the life and property of everybody. The fact that Nigerians haven't taken up the government, that's why we're in a mess. I mean, God forbid, if you kidnap any of my relations and I have to part with money, if I have to pay ransom, I will collect the money from the government, because it's the duty of the government to protect every life in our country. I believe that the governors and the president will have to sit down and ensure that there is security in the country, adequate security for our people.
We are back. After listening to the angst, understandably so, from the man on the street, I think it's time for us to now come back home. Dale Carnegie said, no two sides will ever win an argument. The truth will always be compromised in between. We are not really interested in the cause, long term, short term. We need to begin to profile solutions. I am glad that the government of the day has done like virtually every Nigerian to commiserate with Fashu Oronti. Past presidents, governors, political party stalwarts across party lines have gone to commiserate with partiality. From now on, how do we prevent some of these things, even we as vanguard of people, in the immediate term, to prevent a thing like this from happening, Dotun?
Well, for me, I think there must be consequences for bad actions. We have lived in a country, this is the same country where the Attorney General was assassinated. Up to today, we still don't know who assassinated Chief Bola Ige. This is a country where we have the likes of Funsho Williams and a lot of other people prominent in the society that were assassinated. Until there are consequences for bad actions, bad action will continue to persist. So for this particular death, until we identify the culprits behind these actions and we bring them to books, ensure that they are punished appropriately and the appropriate punishment are meted out to them. And then people that want to replicate such action would see that there are consequences for these kinds of action.
When such thing happens in a society, there's always an investigation. But the reason why this has become a topic in the national discourse is because of that woman and her family. This should serve as a wake-up call. We are hoping that this here will be it. But we have our suspicion. And the reason why this is becoming one death too many, as the topic goes, is because of the proliferation of arms in the hands of the wrong people. That is the problem. Now, having said the problem, Aki, you said solution. I will say one of the solutions in this case will be to cautiously bring back our forest rangers. Because if you look at the pattern of killing and where they're taking them inside the bush. And the job of a forest rangers is to mind the bush.
So these forest rangers, yes, of course, will necessarily mean that the local governments and the state governments, in collaborating with the federal government, will begin to work in harmony to ensuring, yes, that is effective.
Very, very.
Together with local vigilantes. Because at the end of the day, I always say security is everybody's business. It's your security, my security starts from me.
That's right.
And a lot of stories have been going on. I don't want to dwell on speculations here. No. I mean, let investigation go. And please, let's stop the profiling. We don't know for sure. And the long arm of the law will eventually catch up, no matter how long. But it is important for us to also accept the fact that we have had collaborators within our people. They have gone to collaborate with some of these devilish people, and it is our responsibility to profile, information to our security agencies. Oscar?
Yes. My take is first is to align with what Dotun said. Dotun says justice. Justice. Justice must not just be done, but must be seen to be done. We on a constant basis, the federal government should be feeding us with information. We are combing this area, just like he mentioned the Rangers. We are combing this area. Show us, if possible, on television that not only are we doing that, we're also establishing things in those areas that will tell us if some people go in there again for evil intentions. Now, if this begins to happen, the truth is the federal government of Nigeria owes the whole of Nigeria one big debt. And what is that? Build back our confidence. We are beginning to lose it. We are beginning to feel that the number one thing in the Constitution and the purpose for their being in office, which is safety to our lives and property, is completely eluded them. It's as if they don't even know what to do. And if they're doing anything, we're not seeing that they're doing anything. We are praying. Because it's the only thing you can do to people who play politics with practically everything, including human life. is, can you please do something, because tomorrow it will be your own child.
In that part of the country, I am aware, I think quite a number of people are aware, that have set up, the puff adder thing, combing.
Which part of the country?
In the southwest, Oshun axis. Okay, now, I am beginning to feel that perhaps these initiatives, the enormity of the problem that we have is so overwhelming, and we must not shy away from this. And that is the reason why I'm talking about maybe the communities, the vigilantes, and then, of course, state government, and then the federal government has to work hand in hand. There must be creative ways of attacking some of these things. In other climes, what you do, such a dastard thing happens in the US that you mentioned, the camera is cut you up. We don't have such. Attempts to do that in some parts of the country ended up in massive corruption. I am saying, in the immediate, should we not have such collaboration between the security agencies, the people themselves, the short ticks that you mentioned, clearing the bush paths?
How many people do you have in Nigerian police force? 400,000. Now, begin to divide. All the chief magistrates you have in Nigeria, they have one. All the judges you have in Nigeria, they have one. Begin to discount. Then we have big men. All the ministers, they have one. All the commissioners, they have one.
Don't forget to add their wives.
Thank you. Then the Senate President, House of Rep, some other leaders in the National Assembly, they have one. Then in the government house, which is Aso Rock, you have almost a battalion. Now, by the time you discount all of this, what do you have left to fight crime? You do not have up to 100,000. You do not. Now, out of this 100,000, you have women. And some of those women are where? They're in the offices where they keep records of what is going on for administrative purposes. At the end of the day, 200 million people are being policed by less than 50,000 people in reality. So let me just finish this. Now, this is the reason why the coalition that you're talking about becomes so very, very important. We must have that coalition because it affects all of us. It's not going to be, it's just the police thing. And if the federal government will not learn that this is the time for state police, and if the federal government continue to insist for those stupid excuses of, oh, the politicians will take advantage of it as if they are not politicians themselves, then definitely it means the federal government is passing a message. We don't care if you die. Now, we are begging. You made a great suggestion here, but you see, my pessimism comes from just one thing. We don't lack good ideas here. But you know what? The distractions come per day. It was Friday that they shot Funke. We don't know who they are going to kill in the next 2 days, and we forget Funke and we start discussing that one. And this is the way it keeps going on. They create new and new distractions. We forget it, and because we forget so quick, nobody takes any action.
Then it will happen all over again.
And it will continue to happen.
Oscar, you have just nailed it on the head, and the discourse will continue on and on and on. Unfortunately, time is not a friend. Again, the panel on Patito Gang deeply commiserates with our Papa Fasho, and by extension, all others in high and low places who have had to lose loved ones in all the parts of the country. We believe that with concerted effort, good communication, collaborative efforts, and we begin to speak out like we are trying to sensitize here, this will reduce. It will not necessarily be eliminated 100% because there is nowhere on the surface of the earth where you eliminate. But this kind of dastard acts can be reduced. The conversation continues. Please follow us on the social media handles that is streaming across your screen. This is Patito's Gang. See you next week.